last week I was in D.C. at the Grad Nation, the Building a Grad Nation Summit. So there's a lot of resources out there in terms of collaboration and partnerships. And one of the most important things that they said is that the dropout situation is not just a school situation.
It's a community
It's a community situation.
And
the community has to partner with the schools and vice versa, and with the businesses and with parents and everybody to create different options and different linkages for success.
Okay, so don't you think that that's one of the major takeaways from this whole thing, is that it is a community issue? So where do you think the blame game started? Because everybody wants to blame everybody else for this whole dropout thing. Let's take this lady on the end.
Hi, my name is Kristen Stansel, and I also work with the graduation coach program at Warwick High School. And one thing that I feel needs to happen is that the fingers need to really stop pointing, because the schools are community. I mean, even though, you know, it's a system and they may look at it, people who are not educators may look at it as, well, that's not my responsibility, but it actually is, because when the students feel disengaged at school and they drop out for whatever reason, it may be because they can't pass SOL testing, it may be because they just feel that they just can't read or they just can't do. That becomes a problem when these students are not in school. They may turn to alternative ways. Some may be violent, some may not, but that's what affects the community. And one big thing with dropout, well, the dropout data that I've seen is that students who drop out, we look for a lot of them and we find them that they're incarcerated. They are incarcerated, and that is a community issue. So I think that it's really hard for some community people to buy into what it is because they don't understand. So I think maybe if there's more outreach, more education, maybe online or town hall meetings such as this, maybe
people will understand
and the fingers will stop pointing.
Okay. Anybody from this side? This gentleman, this lady here in the red? In the red?
Excuse me. Hi, Janet Blake Perry from Suffolk Public Schools, John Yates Middle School, 8th grade. I think it goes back to what the lady from the State Department said. We have to really look at the developmental level of our students. And not all students are ready to learn the same thing at the same time. And if you look at the fact that we are testing students with standardized testing earlier and earlier, and if you're one of those students that's not quite ready to learn something and you've been given a standardized test and you didn't pass the standardized test, and now suddenly you've been told that you're not successful, and that happens maybe 2 years in a row, how excited are you about learning? Should our learning all just be graded on the idea of can you pass an SOL test or not?
Okay. All right. This lady right here. Oh, I'm sorry. We had already identified this lady. I'm sorry. And then I'll come to you. Come on.
Okay. My name is Ethel Streeter, and I'm from
Ethel, I need you to stand up. There you go.
and I work at Craddock Middle School and Norcom High School, and this is my 25th year. And from what I can see, that it's been a deterrent in the education process as far as the teaching and learning of the students. Years ago, when we taught kids how to read, when I first started out, it was the silent reading. Okay, what in the world is silent reading? So, I mean, how can a teacher assess if a child is reading silently? So this went on for years and years. Then they came out with invented spelling. Oh, you don't worry about, you just write it down, you just spell it the way you think it's, but you're not taught to look in the dictionary to
So you're talking about there are many different styles.
And now we're in the technological age where we're skipping the writing process. Kids no longer are able to write. As far as the main problem, I'm a speech and language pathologist, and I've obsessed and observed all my kids, and the number one problem with all of my students is the inability to read. My kids cannot read. And white, black, whatever the race, very few are on the level that they're supposed to be on. All right, so how do you do this? You take each child and start them on the level that they're on. Yes, I have some ABC books for my big kids. I have no other choice. If they don't know the ABCs, I'm going to have to teach the ABCs. You got to teach them at the level where they are, not at the level where the test says they should supposed to be. And that's the problem that we're dealing with now in this culture and society. And what I wanted to write my dissertation on, my professors would not let me write it what I wanted to write, my dissertation was on that we have destroyed our children by the way we have taught them. They said, oh, no, you cannot write it this way. So I wrote a curriculum. So
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
But what I wanted to write is the way the teachers are not teaching the way they ought to. I pick up my kids, I go from room to room picking up children. Teachers are not teaching. You don't hear kids reading information. So how do you know they're understanding, comprehending information if they can't read the information? You never hear a kid reading out loud in class. So how do you expect for them to pass the test that requires
Good point.
them to read?
Thank you. Thank you. Let's get this lady here.
I just want to add to that. My name is Elena Johnson. I'm a school librarian at Booker T. Washington High School. And speaking on the levels of reading, the challenge for me at the high school level is trying to develop a collection of books that speaks to each child. And a few years back, I worked on an initiative, and I took the idea from Granby High School, where they had gotten a grant to build a library collection that was, you had picture books, you had low level, high interest, so that every child had a book that they could take home. And it didn't matter that it was a picture book. And I put up a big poster that said, read a little to your little friend, to encourage, people to read to their younger siblings and to develop that love of reading. It all comes down to reading, and they have to read to comprehend, to understand.
All righty. Let's have this lady here.
My name's Georgine Evans, and I'm from Blair Middle School here in Norfolk. And I've heard so many good things. My thoughts are kind of scrambled a little bit. I wanted to address, first of all, the community. I am fortunate, or unfortunate, however you want to look at it, to work at Blair, which is right downtown Norfolk. And, we used to talk about the child's brought up in a community, and I know I was, when the businesses talked and the parents talked and the teachers talked and the neighbor downstairs called my mom if I was down the street and I was in trouble. And I think we might not get to that extent, but at the same time, we need to be aware that just like downtown, the businesses need to be aware that their students are out there. They need some role models out there, outside of the school. They need those parents that are walking down the street being role models outside of the school, so they can see those positive role models again, instead of just at home or on their street. Or
so it's the whole concept of we need to bring the village back.
Yes,
it may be a little different
to.
shape of the village,
Right,
but the village needs to come back.
Find a way to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, let me get to this side, and then I'll come back to you all over here. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm John Osterhout from Hugo Owens Middle School in Chesapeake, and also teach adjunct in some of the teacher prep programs at Old Dominion. And one of the things that's happened over the years is there was a big drive in the last decade or so that teachers don't know their subject matter. We have all these useless education courses that we require, so we don't require so many of those anymore. I've been teaching for 27 years, and the more I teach, the more I'm convinced that those useless education courses weren't so useless. Human growth and development, I use it every day. It is so important. And I see new folks coming out of the programs, and they have less human growth and development. Tests and measurements isn't even required anymore, and that's something we live by every day, and it's not a requirement. I think that from a method standpoint, teachers are stronger today in the classroom than they ever have been. But what we don't get training in is how to motivate our students. How do we make those connections with the hard to connect to students? What do you need to do in your classroom? How do you reach that student? Do you even need to reach that student? I think a lot of teachers miss that component, that we have to build these relationships with these students. If students aren't motivated from home, if parents aren't the motivating factor for them to succeed in school, then we have to be that motivating factor, our classrooms. And the way that happens is you have to make them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, that their class, whether it's the whole class that they want to perform for, or you've built a personal relationship with them and they're motivated to learn because they want to please you.
You brought up a point that I was thinking about. Do you all do any peer-to-peer mentoring of each other so that you can learn some new techniques and so forth? Yes. Okay. I think this lady here, since you're right there with the mic. Uh-oh. You
My
okay?
name's Beth Craig, Oscar Smith High School. And I believe one thing I see is that politicians have turned education into a political football. They think they're the experts. They know what we should teach, how we should teach, when we should teach it. They've loaded us up with tests. They've loaded us up with statistics, numbers, paperwork that we have to do. And they have to realize that they're not the experts. We are.
That you all are. Okay, let's get this lady here. I'm going to do about 3 more folks, and then we're going to wrap it up for the evening. I'll get you. I'm coming.
Good evening. Thanks again for actually listening to the teachers. One of the things I would like to comment on, though, is that the business community, the educational community, and the political community are all striving to have teachers teach in many different ways, many different methods, many different levels, and we are actually achieving that. I think what I'm finding a big challenge for myself is if you walk into my classroom, I have hands-on, I have video, I have technology, the kids are finding great success, and then they take this multiple choice test, and they find failure. And I find that the students actually probably are succeeding at a higher level, but the testing is set up to not match what we've been challenged to do. So we've met the challenge, the kids are succeeding, and then the test.
And then the test, and it doesn't show that you succeeded.
And it does not, it doesn't show their success.
Hello, my name is Donna Dixon. I'm a high school teacher at IC Norcom High School. I'm also the senior class sponsor, the advisor, so this is on my forefront every day. As we were talking before, I have 18 students in my class. 15 of them are African American male. And the prevalence in their asking is, I need a job. Some of them have chosen to start families early in their life. They have children. They are their parent. There is no parent at home. And one of the things that we see every day is the first thing they say is, Ms. Dixon, we're in your GED class, but can you help me get a job? Can you help me find a job? So one thing that we eager for, or we yearn for, is the businesses to come in, make connections with our students, and also express to them that that bridge has to be built between that high school diploma or that GED that links them to progression, in their career and development. Because a lot of students, they see many family members or aunts, uncles, people in their family making it every day without that high school diploma, but they need to realize how important it is in today's society that you need that diploma, that it's not as easy, just to make for any regular job. Even at McDonald's, you have to have a high school diploma.
You have to do
so we are eager for our businesses. We had Goodwill in our high school today, looking for students that want to come in and begin working.
You do need the community to come in.
So we do need the businesses in, and we need them to be prevalent in our students' lives.
Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to talk to Dr. Stiff. I'm sorry, you said wait till you get the mic.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Stiff Williams. And what I'm a graduation coach, and I'm also a CTE, career technical education teacher, and I'm doing the job. I have three preps, and then the rest of the day I do graduation coach stuff. But the thing is, I'm rounding that the deterrent is attendance. That is my indicator first, the attendance. And when I bring the students and the parents to the attendance meeting, then they have all these excuses, and they can bring all these parent notes and stuff like that. So I implemented that they can only bring doctor notes and counseling notes and obituaries and stuff like that, real documents, right? So, but the thing is here is that we have no power when they turn 18. When they turn 18, however, I'm dealing with the seniors. Most of my seniors are 18, if not turning 18. They the one are really dropping out, 18. And we have no power. They can do what they can sign themselves out of school, anything. And the school is just like, let them go. And I've let go 17 students just this year. So what I'm asking you with the Virginia Department of Education, can we get a policy change? Can we get a policy change? As long as they on this, if they're in the public setting, we should still be responsible for them. They should still answer to us, whether they're 18, 19, or 20.
That's a legislative issue. That's not a State Department of Education issue. You got to understand that the legislative sets the guidelines, and the Department of Education's responsibility is to try to adapt to write the policy to implement those guidelines. So you need to talk to your legislators, but that's not atypical, because in some places the dropout, kids can drop out at 16. But what you might can do is try to figure out what other options, non-traditional, online, that they can take the online class and graduate. See, because the other issue is seat time. These kids don't want to be in the seat, but they want to graduate. So you got to look at non-typical, atypical approaches. So look at graduation online. There's a lot of classes that they can take online that are through the Department of Education or through their school division that they can take online. So you can still count them as a graduate online. So don't give up.
Okay. And I promise you, we are done. Thank you all again for coming.
They told me to powder you really didn't need it. But they kept telling me to come